People never like to feel like there's a transaction happening, like they're transactional. People know, like that whole adage of it's about how much you care. Like that's the ultimate currency, right?
Yeah.
So this idea that you can have a transaction with someone and business is business and personal is personal, I've never thought that was true. I've never felt that was true. I believe in boundaries. I believe in healthy boundaries with people, but this idea that you can separate the two, everything's personal.
Yeah.
You know, especially a house.
Welcome to the Deals and Aloha podcast, where we talk about real estate deals, hope to leave a lasting impact with our audience, and of course, spread aloha. Please follow us on Instagram and all social media platforms at Kamohai and Trisyn. And remember to subscribe, like, and share this podcast.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Today, it was good, right?
That was very
he's
official.
Good. I know. Today we have our friend and agent, Jared Musser from Compass.
From Compass.
Compass.
Compass. Welcome, brother.
Thank you guys for having me.
You've been a joy to have in our life. You make real estate fun.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is for an industry that is so stagnant. Sometimes, most times, that's a huge compliment. So thank you.
Well, I genuinely mean that. I think you're hilarious. I think you're super helpful. I think you bring the same vibe and culture that I think we try to bring to real estate. So I think that's why we instantly just vibed.
Yeah, I have to second that. I think after the first time I met you, we had like a really cool conversation. I came home and I was talking to Trisyn, and I was like,
this, yeah.
Dude, Jared has the same energy, man. Like he gets it. And you know how you meet some people in life where it's just like a connection. You share the same, like I said, energy, vibe, like
whatever,
think the same way. So we're super honored to have you on the podcast, and we're also super excited because you are the first agent that we've ever had on the pod. Yeah. And so we're excited to dig in, and I don't know your story necessarily, right?
No, only like bits and pieces.
So it'll be cool to just unpack all this stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you. And I want to say too, as a mirrored experience I had when I came home from first meeting Kamohai, because I met you in Hawaii Kai at that house on Maka'a.
Yep.
And I had a little bit of a bro crush on Kamohai because I remember he came in with your crew, and you're just such a cool alchemy of you're local, you're sophisticated, you're super relatable, and you're just like the most authentic, and we're just laughing, talking shit. Am I allowed to swear?
Please say shit, fuck, damn, piss, whatever you want to say.
We done it.
Yeah.
And I came home and I told my wife Diara, I said, I think I met a friend. More than I had met like a client. And then I met Trisyn, and it was like cool. I saw that there's this duo that you guys had. It's no surprise to me that the momentum has been what it's been.
Dude,
I really mean that. It's been really cool to watch you guys.
That's super cool.
That's so fun. Well, I think it's because we align ourselves with people like you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because if there's some form of commonality and you do share a genuine, what is it, like synergy or whatever that is, it just makes real estate fun, and it makes it work, and it makes it easier because this industry is hard.
Yeah, totally. And stale a lot of the times.
Oh my gosh, and we're the opposite of that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're trying to be, and it's interesting to have human beings in this industry that I'm trying to co-collaborate with who are trying to do it in a very human, like new age kind of way. Because there's this old guard here, especially here in Hawaii, that's alive and well. We feel it. You feel it on the investor side.
Yeah.
I feel it on the agent side. We were just joking about some TV show characters before, which I'm not going to name here on the podcast.
Slide into the DMs.
But it is comedy how archaic this industry can be.
Can be. Yeah.
And I
agree.
think we're trying to be the change, and you do that I do it through, I mean, comedy and humor is often my release in how I get through it, but it's also just storytelling and being a human being, and of course having a baseline level of competency, but going into it being a human being. People want to see how
100%.
the sausage is made. They want to see the way the machine is built. So anyway.
Dude.
Yeah. No. Love that.
Love that. Love that so much. We could just end the podcast now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so.
Can I just say the Biggie is sleeping right now?
And
He's so
snoring.
relaxed.
Yeah. He's sleeping. Snoring. If you guys hear some snoring, I promise it's Biggie.
Yeah.
He is right here. I'm not sure if you can see him.
Yeah, well, he just refuses to be on the ground right now, so.
It's kind of might be my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Sitting across from
We
me.
were just watching an HBO show where they have like animals that are their
Like their spirit
like
animals.
their spirit animal. I think they're called demons. His dark.
His Dark Materials. Or
Super good
something.
show.
It's on HBO
It's
Max.
on HBO.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
And so
We
he said-
digress.
So the first thing you should do if you're thinking about getting in real estate is watch the spirit animal show on HBO.
yes. You will
Take
for
us out.
sure be
It's
successful.
all
I
about
promise.
self-awareness, who you are, how you're going to show up in a deal.
Right.
He is my spirit animal. Like, look at this.
Are you
Okay.
a pug? Are you a pit bull? You're going to find out.
Okay. In all seriousness, how did you get into being an agent? Like, how did you get into real
What
estate?
was your path to real
Yeah.
estate?
Take us back to the beginning.
I feel like I got to abbreviate it because there's a lot of moving parts in how I grew up, my childhood, and how I even came to be in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But I was working in hotels for almost 10 years, almost a decade in luxury hotels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Grand Hyatt Kauai to some hotels in Utah. Actually, that's how I met my wife. We opened up a hotel together in Salt Lake City,
Dude,
Utah.
I remember you told us to go to a
Crazy.
hotel in
Yeah.
Utah when we were there.
Park
Yeah,
City.
Deer Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Deer Valley.
Yep.
Yeah, we went there.
And then, so I moved to Southern California, still working in hotels, got a job promotion. I had kind of reached the top of what I could do in the hotel industry, and I was so burned out. So burned out. My wife was working in fashion. She was working a corporate job, and I was working nights and weekends and holidays, and we were like ships passing in the night. And it was hard. It almost
Yeah.
broke our
Super-
relationship.
Super hard.
And I just knew, like, I heard your guys' podcast a while back about just your story and this I don't know if you called it this, but that hero's journey calling inside of all of us, that knowing that you have something bigger
Yeah.
and greater in front of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and not even to say that real estate is the thing, but real estate can be a more on-purpose vehicle to express that message and that gift. And in the peak of my burnout, I was visiting. We were back here, and I was with family around the holidays. And my wife's mom, who used to be a big agent back in the day, said to me, "You should consider being a real estate agent." And I laughed.
Yeah.
And I said, "I do not like real estate agents. I don't want to be in that industry. It seems so slimy. There's no way."
Yeah.
And like I do, once the seed is planted, I started listening to podcasts and went full nerd and
Yeah.
deep dived on
Yeah.
it. And
You
started,
guys have that in common.
I know.
yeah, I just like, if I'm a little bit intrigued, I want to burn it out to make sure that
Yeah.
my stubbornness is actually supported.
Yeah.
I want to make
Oh,
sure
I love that.
it's the right choice for me to be somewhat closed-minded about something because I actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what kind of changed it for me was a Bigger Pockets podcast way back in the day. I was like, these guys are kind of cool
Yeah.
and relatable. And
Yeah.
I still think they offer a lot of good value out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I was just reading more, and I was listening to guys, and actually Kevion, who we have a shared appreciation
Shout
for.
out to Kevion.
Shout out.
Love Kevion.
Yeah, he's unreal.
Yeah, I'd seen some of his content back in the day too, and I was like, this is a interesting, more human, more seemingly like better way to be doing things. And it is possible that you could be a real estate agent and not be a weirdo and put people first and have a human forward, heart open, ethically driven business that is stacked and scaled the way that you want it.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. So
Yeah.
I started studying for my license. I got my license. I was thinking that I had a lot more value to offer than I did at the time. I was like going around interviewing teams. I was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of your team. And they're like, okay, how many sales have you done? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't want to be a part of your team.
I have built hotels.
I have worked in the service industry. So I remember actually at one of the interviews telling some guy, I was like, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
The guy's
He's like, not one of these again.
Cool. But yeah, so I ended up meeting this guy, Brandon Lauder and Tammy Facher, his wife, and they're part of a KW team, Keller Williams and Palos Verdes. And they had a team called Team Echo Real Estate, and they were on track to do, 40, 50. I think one year they did 60 flips a year in Southern California.
Wow.
Nice. And they were looking for a buyer's agent, someone to hold open houses and someone to kind of canvas their properties and do all the things. And so I jumped in head first, and I was working open houses in Compton, in Northeast LA,
No way.
All over.
in Santa Monica, in Thousand Oaks, California, in Orange County, like truly spread thin, but having to be scrappy and learn quickly. And I think that really is I look back on it now as such a blessing, because I remember this one open house. It's kind of a funny story. I was in Northeast LA. I was in this neighborhood called Lincoln Heights. You might have to cut this out, but let's do it.
Let's go down this road.
This pocket of Lincoln Heights was rough.
Okay.
Was rough. And you think I'm like epitome of clean cut Holly guy right now. You should have seen me about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Like people were coming in my open house.
Yeah.
This guy came in full face tattoos. Like
no way.
He like if you Googled gang member in Northeast
fit the
LA,
bill.
he would have fit the bill right there.
Really?
Like he came in. I did not ask him to sign in.
I did not make eye contact.
But
Like
I was like, oh, would you like a pre-approval letter? But he came in and was asking me questions about the house and basically told me not to come back to that neighborhood again. After that, my open house signs got tagged. The house got tagged.
Oh my god!
The exterior fence got tagged. And 2 weeks after that, there was a homicide 2 streets down from this house.
Wow.
And anyway,
That's heavy.
those two aren't correlated, but
It's just the area. It's an indication. Yeah.
But it was just this constant having to be conscious of what was the dynamic of a neighborhood, and what do I need to learn, and what do I need to be aware of in terms of not just the numbers, but what do people actually want in that neighborhood, and how can you do that in more of a conscious way?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think our team started to hit the right notes, and ultimately I outgrew that position, but man, that taught me a lot. I got my first year in the business, I got Rookie of the Year. I liked it. I felt like I was good at it. I felt like I could sell, but more than anything, I felt like my service industry was the perfect plug into real estate, because I never
100%.
felt like I was in sales. I felt like I was in the business of servicing people, and that sounded weird. I was in the
We got it.
We
got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that was on my business card?
Yeah.
Services people
Services people.
with a headshot.
Yeah, scary. Not cool.
No, the skill set that you had from your previous line of work was a beautiful blend into your new line of work.
Yeah, for example, part of my hotel experience was in restaurants, and really nice restaurants, and we would do catered events and stuff. I remember I worked with this French manager, Fabian, if you're listening, he was such an intense man.
That's awesome.
But he's like, you have to make it a dream when they walk in. And I wasn't trying to make open houses a dream, but I was trying to make it this experience where they would be impacted not by just my value and trying to present the home in a good way, but they left better than they came in.
I love that
I
so
absolutely
much.
love that. And man, that makes me think back to
Well, that's our mission.
Our mission, but even before that, our retail stores.
Yeah.
My brother and I, when we talked about it, that's literally always been the goal, because there's surf shops out there before.
Yeah.
There was people doing the same kinds of things that we were doing, but when people walk into a store, even if they don't buy anything, if you give them the most special experience that they've ever had, they will not only always remember that, but they're going to tell everybody about
100%.
how awesome that experience was, right? So, like, you can sell a dope piece of clothes or, like, a really nice house, but, like, if the experience isn't there, it's fleeting. It doesn't scale.
perpetuate,
It doesn't, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People never like to feel like there's a transaction happening, like they're transactional. People know, like that whole adage of it's about how much you care. Like that's the ultimate currency, right?
Yeah.
So this idea that you can have a transaction with someone and business is business and personal is personal, I've never thought that was true. I've never felt that was true.
I don't think it's
I believe
true
in
either.
boundaries.
Oh,
Right.
I believe in healthy boundaries with people, but this idea that you can separate the two, everything's personal.
Yeah.
You know, especially a house.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like the most.
I remember
personal.
Aloha Sunday. In my past life, when I was working in hotels, one birthday or Christmas, whenever it was, my wife got me an Aloha Sunday T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I wore the hell out of that thing.
Yeah.
I remember it. And it's just funny, like in synchronicity, how we're sitting at this table right
That's
now.
so
I know.
crazy.
That was one of my
So
favorite. I
wild.
wore that T-shirt out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
I definitely thought it was cool when I wore it.
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah. But again, that's why we connected with you, because we want that same type of experience for people. When we buy janky, messed up houses, we want to leave them, and not only cosmetically, but almost spiritually.
Yeah.
That's why we bless our home, so that when people walk into a space, and that's why we only work with certain agents. And we're of course we're open to working with everyone essentially, but it has to feel right, because you have to be representing the home in the manner that we are truly pouring our hearts into that place, you know? So
Yeah, it's and I know that. You know, I know that when we're representing one of your houses, there's so much thought and care that goes into it. People go into. I remember the Mariners Ridge house. We had a
That was challenging,
crazy
man.
busy open house,
Yeah.
but I remember people went through and they were critical. And people have the right to be critical, especially at
100%.
that price point of
Yep.
all aspects of the house.
Totally.
But it's becoming more and more a challenge, because I know it is almost like a personal, spiritual extension of who you two are.
Totally.
You're putting that house out there. You're not just trying to make a quick buck.
Right.
And so when people come at a house in different ways, like I
Yeah.
almost find myself like kind of being protective.
Like,
Like,
Right.
hey, now,
Yeah.
hang on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
you know,
know.
those
I know.
cabinets may not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
and there's no need to be like adversarial about it, but
Right.
it's, you know, and also people love to hate on flippers. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like
my
that
gosh.
is, and I think that's changing.
Yeah.
You know, I think you guys are changing that.
Well,
Right on.
we're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying to slowly push that stone forward, because we know and the hui of investors that we actually call friends, and how they run their business and what they do and the impact that they have. It's never a bad thing, and it's never to make a quick dime, you know? So
Yeah. I think a little bit of an uphill battle. You know, I think
a little bit.
and it's the same. I think a lot of times for even on the agent side, like there's a stigma and kind of, you know, what everybody thinks it looks like, right? And like, this is what agents are. This is what investors are, you know? And so it's always been a mission of ours to change the bad things about that and the narrative about what investing is in particular.
Yeah.
But I feel like what's cool about getting into anything new, and like you said it earlier with the agent thing, because you had like an assumption of what agents were, right? You're like, oh, I would never do that. I'm the slimy, you know, like that kind
And
of
my
thinking.
assumption hasn't changed. No, I'm
Right?
just joking.
I'm just now one of them. Oh my gosh.
No.
No, but you found somebody like a
Yeah.
Kevion
Yeah.
where
That
you're like,
changed your perspective.
crap, dude, this guy's doing it a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah.
There is a space for me to express myself, to be authentic, to do that. And like
in that industry.
yeah, we found that in some other investors that we were looking up to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I always think that it's important to, I mean, I know it's going to sound cliche, but not judging the book by the cover, but doing a little bit extra research to peel it back a little bit more.
Before you cast the net over all.
Yeah.
You know, because there's always, it's never all.
Nuance is the ultimate. It's a hard thing to really adopt right now in this day and age. We all have teams. We all want to make assumptions. And to be honest with you, where that's coming up in me and my humanity is that's the easy way out.
Totally.
Like,
that's easier.
Cling on to the team, cling on to the judgment, the assumption. And back to the age, I want to backtrack a little bit. I don't think agents are bad. I think that mediocrity is part of the old story of this industry on the agent side. And I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to be a part of that. Not to say I'm perfect. I got a lot of work to do. I'm constantly trying to grow. But I was with an agent yesterday. Shout out to Giovanna if you're listening to this. And we were talking for almost 2 hours. Or Manolo listening, which I want to buy for myself. It's a really cool.
I saw
house.
that. I saw your story. I was like, oh, that looks like a
really?
Jared house.
It's a really beautiful house, like a Japanese mid-century home. I'll show you guys after.
Screams Jared.
Yeah, it's on a big piece of land, but it's kind of the dream house.
Yeah.
Have to move some pieces into place to make that happen.
Get it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
But Giovanna, we were talking about how she almost needs to dial down how much she cares. Like she cares so much. She cares so much about people, making sure their experience is good, making sure she does right by people. I relate to that too.
Right.
I know a lot of agents where that's the blessing and the curse, where like they're trying to work so hard for their clients.
Right.
But the uphill battle is the clients feel because of HGTV, because of selling Sunset, because of some shitty experiences with other real estate agents, that real estate agents are bad people. They just care about the sale. And that's a story we got to change. And it's a story we can't necessarily just change through words. It's a story we got to change through like what we're doing. Your guys' homes that you're selling are what you're doing. Like, as that reputation builds, they're going to say Kamohai and Trisyn's homes. You already have a following. You know, people already love what you do. It's special. So the podcast is amazing. Like that's one story. That's one piece of your narrative. But your ultimate expression are these beautiful. Like I know I'm I'm not trying to sound esoteric and crazy as I'm talking about. We're in a house right now that you guys basically rebuilt, and it's really damn special. This house is special.
Big
time.
Yeah,
Mariner's Ridge was special. Halikoa was like probably my favorite house ever.
Dude,
You know?
I know.
What's crazy is
Mine
I've
too.
actually just been going there and hanging out in the lanai, and they're giving me stink eye. Like,
What are you doing here?
yeah, but I love it up there. You know, I drink my coffee up there.
Oh my
Here's
gosh. Okay.
I don't know, like
fart on you? Oh my god.
And the dog farted.
Biggie. Classic Biggie.
I'm getting a little bit of that biggie.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Getting a little bit of that Biggie.
Oh, okay.
I love that. It's
So it's safe to say
I
that
can't be serious for longer than 10 minutes. at a time.
maybe.
but the series, yeah, it was about 10 minutes. Yeah, it was really good. Oh, you
Sad.
grew out of that position
Yeah.
into another position. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so, and it's no disrespect to my mentors along the way. You know, I've learned so much, but I remember with Brandon and Tammy at Team Echo, I just felt like that was a little bit more of one dimension of style of doing the business.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I could do more as a solo agent. So I started to work with more of a wide range of people and buyers and sellers. Got a little bit more traditional in that way. I kind of moved away from the investor side. And I like that too, but then started to weave in investors back into my business.
Yeah.
And started to go down that route a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I still do. I mean, you guys I'm so choosy now on the investor side.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So I know that you have told me that before in our conversations. So what is it now that you kind of look for that are good indicators? Like, okay, actually,
When
I'm
working
willing to
with-
work with this.
Yeah.
You
Is
know
it
what I
with
mean?
people
Investor.
or is it with investors specifically?
Well, with people, My big thing is, are you truly motivated to buy or sell? So that's a big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've thought people have been motivated, and then 3 years later, I'm like, man, that's a lot of hours that went by. And I'm okay to help people take the scenic route,
Right.
to understand what's best for them.
Yeah.
But not at the expense of a ton of energy expended
With
from
nothing in
me
return.
and my team
Yeah.
for free.
Right.
I want to be able to give people value, but there needs to be a mutual understanding of like reciprocity.
Totally.
Like, I'm not working for free.
Right.
So qualifying people up front, I think is big on the traditional retail side, but you're asking about investors specifically.
Yeah.
And I'd say like this might be a little too woo woo for some people, but it is largely energy these days. Like I want to make sure people are good people.
Yeah.
You know,
Love that.
That's kind of, if your investor model is $300,000 condos, I just heard the dog fart again. And
That was actually a snore.
I mean, they're very similar.
But can we just take note that when I said $300,000 condos, he farted.
He farted. Yeah.
Objection.
Farter snored.
He's like, we can do better than that.
yeah.
No, if it's a small time investor who's more entry level, cool. If they're a good person, cool.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
really don't care about price point. It tends to be the more seasoned investors that know it all, that have a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Dare I say, a little douchey.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't have to.
And
No.
that's the beauty of
And
it.
that's the beauty of it.
And that's what it means to do business with integrity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that right there.
Yeah.
Standing by, no, I don't agree with how they carry themselves. I don't agree with how they treat other people.
Yeah.
I don't agree with their outlook. And that doesn't mean that that person is bad.
Yeah.
It just means that you're going to stick to your core values, your moral compass, and not compromise on that just to make money. That's what doing business with
Amen.
integrity
Yeah.
is.
And thank you for bringing that reflection into it, because that is what I'm not trying to say. I'm not willing to take shots with a client, and I know there's just difficult, discerning people that are hard to work with. That's
Yeah.
part of business. But
Probably me. I'm probably one of them.
Yeah.
well,
No.
you care about, and I can say this as, I think you don't mind me saying this,
No.
but you're someone who, both of you guys, but you express this more in your dynamic, that you care about the standard and holding the standard high, and we should be held accountable to those standards. That should be a dance that we have as you know, client agent relationship.
Yeah.
That it just
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah,
That's how a
yeah,
healthy
yeah.
relationship flows.
Right.
Right.
To me, that's how any relationship should flow.
Yeah.
Like everyone should have their standards and their expectations and have healthy communication back and forth
Right.
if we need to pivot or move in one direction or
Right,
another. So
right.
that's a big difference from that. And some investors just don't have good intentions,
Yeah.
and you can see it from a mile away.
Yeah.
You know, we see it all the time on the buyer representation side, where corners have been cut in ways that if you didn't know, like through an inspector lens and
Yep.
through being in the industry for almost a decade and looking
Right.
at thousands of houses and a lot of those houses being flips, that's something you do if you're trying to hide that from a buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's investors out there that do that. And
Right.
so
All the time. All the time.
if I get like the slightest feel that an investor is coming from that space, I won't work with them.
yeah.
You know,
I have an interesting question here about that. Like, I feel like that's kind of a skill that you have to build up over time as well. I think
A people reader?
yeah. I mean, for both of us, I think that I've got caught in that where I'm always looking for the best in people. And so I think it's taken some hard knocks to be able to read people a little bit better now, you know? So was that something that you were just born with innately, or has that been the same for you?
no, like that's a good question. I think one of my biggest struggles in life is I tend to err on the side of trusting people and seeing the best in people. I'm a super optimistic guy.
Yeah.
And that's a weird way to frame. That's a hard thing for me, but it's a double-edged sword, because you can trust people and have an open heart with people and accept people. I tend to be the archetype of a human being that can get ripped off, you know, that can be manipulated.
Yep.
And so I've really had to build up some armor and some skill sets around how not persuasion necessarily, but how to read people in a more honest way.
Love that.
Robert Greene, 50 Laws of Power. Like some of those books have actually been pretty insightful for me.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we've all fallen into that trap. And as time progresses, you mature some, and you're in the business and your experience.
Growing up. Like
Yeah.
some of it's just growing up and learning
Growing
about
up.
the world.
Exactly.
It's like just experiencing more people, being in a relationship with people.
Yeah.
I would much rather err on the side of the optimism and the trusting than err on the other side, because I feel like there's more hope and love and light on this side of that spectrum
100%.
versus this, like, because if you're always living in this world of distrust and people are mean, people are out to get me, like, that's a dark and scary world to live in constantly.
Big time.
I have a 3-year-old daughter. You guys know that.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
post about
She's
her all the
awesome.
time. But
She's mini you.
Yeah.
She's so much. She, like, on her way out to this podcast, I'm like, bye, baby. I'm going to go do a podcast today. She's like, a podcast? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, she's watching The Grinch, like, over and over and over again. And to be honest with you, it's not that good of a movie. The one with Jim Carrey. It's kind of long, kind of weird.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The Grinch, though, as a parent, you watch all these weird movies with your kids.
Yep.
The Grinch is ultimately this, like, pessimistic person or whatever
Character
that had a really bad a couple bad back-to-back experiences growing up. The way that story is told in that movie. And it just made me think, like, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but this is, we're hovering around the holidays right now and Christmas. And it makes you think about the dichotomy of how people fall into pessimism or optimism, kindness, closed heart, open heart, fear, hope. Like we're all teetering between this all the time.
All the time.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you have to really kind of like take control of your mental health and say, I'm going to grab this thing by the horns and choose to be a compassionate person.
I choose.
Yeah.
Because your mind is the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
And you can reframe that memory. You can reframe that emotion that's tied to that traumatic memory. But you have to process that memory. You have to process that trauma. And 2022, I've been doing a lot of that for myself. But that doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to process that in order for you to achieve the highest level to therefore then have the control to change the emotion tied to that experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just drop some bombs there.
You know what I mean?
That
So then
was
when
good.
you like go into other things, life is hard.
Yep.
And
It
it's
is.
not like you're not just going to have one shitty thing happen to you. I wish that was the case, right? But you probably have 100, and then but if you can choose to not regress when that next bad thing happens. You can choose to continue to progress.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's beautiful.
Love that. I think too, there becomes a time in your life where you have to protect your space, right?
100%.
And so I think maybe earlier on in our journey, I would have accepted a lot of these things that nowadays I'm like, I know how to say no, right? This is not going to fit in what my goals are, like where I'm going, where our company's going, what I believe in. And it's hard because it's easy to get sucked back into that trap if you're not super intuitive into who you are and what you are. And I think that takes forever to build up and figure out, but it's so important. So important.
What you two just covered there in both of those shares is, man, that right now that's like 90% of my focus.
It's 90% of our focus too. And I feel like it's critical as you go into the next level of your business because it only uncovers new challenges, new experiences. And I say this all the time, but it's because I truly believe in it, that the person that got you, to this phase of life and this level of success is not going to get you to the next phase and the next level of success,
Yeah.
But everyone, you have your season of like hustle and doing what you have to do and hustle culture, right?
That's right.
And like tolerating certain things that you wouldn't tolerate, and you've learned. And then they're just like people are in your life for a reason, and then they leave for a reason. It's just those phases of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's so heavy.
Yeah.
There's
It's so heavy.
there's so much there because
Yeah.
it's like what the person I was. Even there's been so many iterations of Jared.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
been so
Totally.
many different versions of who I am.
Yeah.
And within this industry, it's kind of amazing that I'm still in this industry in some ways because there's been so many ebbs and flows of purpose and is this really what I want to be doing? But through the process, still coming back and finding purpose if I'm looking at what I'm doing through a lens of service, but realizing that even what I just said right there needs to be more honest and less, what's the word? Less hidden by, like, I gotta do some unlearning of
Yeah.
some stuff that I grew up with
Yep.
of,
Dude. Yup.
you know,
Hit it on the nail.
like,
That's been Trisyn 2022.
yeah. And part of that's been reconnecting with I'm adopted. It's been reconnecting with I say I'm adopted. I left my house when I was 15. So there's a whole other
Yeah.
thing of
That's a
We
whole nother.
might
That's a
have to
whole
have
nother session.
Might have to have a part two with Jared.
I
that
agree.
Talk about
But no,
both
but
of our
what you're hitting
upbringings.
on though is so critical, and a lot of high achievers, entrepreneurs, like true, genuine go-getters,
Yeah.
deal with a lot of baggage, and we chose to work and stay busy and succeed and push. And not deal with that because that shit hurts. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in this direction because I get results. I have more control.
And you get accolades from our friends, from our family,
Yeah.
from society saying
Totally.
good job, and from the bank, from
All of
you,
that.
you have these things that in our, if you we could say this, and this, I know this might be a controversial thing to say, but if America has as a culture one prevailing value, that value is probably money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I
like
think
there's a
safe to
huge
say.
focus on
Yep.
money,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we've got this hangover of this Wolf of Wall Street culture big time. And,
Oh, yeah.
and it's pervasive.
Yeah.
And so our generation, we're all roughly the same age.
Yeah.
We're recovering from that.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, money is cool. Status is cool. You're like checking these boxes. I
Yeah.
don't know if this has been your experience.
Yeah.
And you get to this place and you're like, I still kind of don't feel
I'm
awesome.
empty. I'm
Yep.
numb.
And in some ways,
Yeah.
I feel more empty.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're kind of backtracking, like, wait, should I have gone left where I went
Right.
right? Or
Yeah,
like,
like,
what
what am
like,
I
you're
missing?
kind of putting pieces together. And as I've started to move through, again, I use the word dichotomy because it's such a funny dance we do between two things.
Right.
Like feeling success and getting accolades and getting attaboys, attagirls,
Yeah.
and then same side, you're like, I'm hurting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually struggling.
Right.
Like I'm
And
not
that
I'm not doing
conversation
very well.
needs to be brought up more. That conversation.
Yeah.
needs to be
Nobody
had
talks about
more.
that.
I would challenge too that especially with men,
Oh.
Yeah.
like it's
You were just having that conversation with
With my
Ludmila.
life coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Ludmila. You're amazing.
Ludmila is unreal.
If you're looking for somebody to talk to,
Yeah.
she's the one.
So we both meet with
Mm-hmm.
Ludmila, Tris, and like alternate weeks.
Yeah.
But it's to talk about stuff like this. It's so funny because I'll talk with her and she's like, 99% of the men just were bred to just not talk about that stuff, not
Yeah.
share that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's been an interesting journey for me, and I'm exactly the same way. So you're talking, and I'm like, yeah, that's me too.
Yeah. Hello, here
Yeah.
I am in the mirror.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's hope you don't mind me sharing this, but you got emotional in that podcast where you were talking about your experience, and I got emotional, and I sent it to a few guy friends of mine, and they text me, they're like, dude, when they started, when it got kind of heavy, I kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
someone was cutting onions
Yeah.
in the room.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is so important for men to be able to be comprehensive in like how we show up emotionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Like-
makes us better business people. Like, I'm
Totally.
a better real estate agent the more I cry. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But
True statement.
kind of.
It's a true statement.
Yeah.
I think I like did one of those cheesy, like, there's like this maze of words, and it's like the 4 words that you see are your words for 2023. It was on somebody's story.
Yeah.
And one of mine was connection. Connection to you as a human and all parts of you. Ludmila always tells us you need to be connecting to all parts of you because
Yeah.
entrepreneurs are really good at connecting to the one part.
that's right.
and blocking the other parts out. So
Yeah.
not just not connecting to them, but we push those aside.
Yeah.
And then connecting to other people, because like you said, how you show up in the world, how you show up with other people, all we have in this world is human connection and relationships. That's all that truly matters. And it goes back to like the very beginning of when we first started, was it's about how you make people feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they truly remember, is how you made them feel.
And what they feel is how much you make them care and how much of themselves they see in you. And they can't see themselves in you if you're wearing the avatar
Right.
that I've worn for so many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Look at me. Look how awesome I am. Look
Right.
how perfect I am.
Or look how strong I am. Look how knowledgeable I am.
And I'm still, by the way, I still have a hangover from that stuff. I'm still trying to be more Jared without that stuff.
But the thing is you can be both. You can be
That's
the
right.
knowledgeable business person with vulnerability and ability to connect in your truest. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I'm learning, and he knows because I'm very black. It's black and it's white.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we're gray. And I'm like, no, it's black and white. So I'm learning that it can be both. It can
Nuance,
be gray.
just like we started.
It's nuance.
Nuance.
Yep. That's
You
all
know?
it is.
And that's the human experience. I mean, I literally got and feel free to make fun of me for this. I got a tattoo of a lion on my arm last year. And the lion is cut in half, and half the lion is realism, and the other half of the lion is ancient geometry for the deep journey of the warrior ethos. And that's because I've been thinking about that, like how we do this dance of hard and soft again, especially as men, and how we show up in business. And it's like something I'm trying to work on is like have the EQ, like be heart open, but be firm, be strong,
Right.
be
Totally.
be a negotiator, stick up for your clients, go hard in the paint when you need to,
Yep.
loosen up when you need to, laugh often. Like the dance between all of it that's what it's
Human
about.
experience.
Yeah.
That is the human experience.
Yeah.
Love that.
This is like turning into just a philosophical.
This is so cool. But okay,
this is how
so
every conversation with Jared goes.
yeah, we always just end up talking about.
And then
like,
we end with like, but I'll email you guys about the house.
yeah. Then wait, are we on a real estate
like
podcast?
30 seconds of business talk, and then
exactly.
we're like,
I love it.
Classic.
Well, I think that's a good caveat into your real estate, going back into your real estate journey and talking about that was like, what is some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome? You said you've been in this industry for like a decade.
Yeah, well, before that, so you go off on your own and you just start killing it.
I do.
That's it.
In California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, I want to watch even how I talk about that, because all ships rise with rising tides. Is that how the saying goes? I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yep.
I saw an Instagram meme the other day. It was like, to all the top producers right now, good job. You can shoot fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
I'm like, that feels true.
Yeah.
But it's been a good run, and within that, the market's been amazing,
Right.
for sellers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And transactionally, people have been buying. I love you, baby.
Yeah.
And all,
I
all
gotta
your
keep
all
its
your
neck
noises.
up like this.
But the market's been an easy market. I'm just acknowledging that now because I missed 2008, 2009. I wasn't in business at that time.
Same. Yep.
So I've heard the horror stories. I've known people that are still licking their wounds from that era.
Yeah.
I know people that are licking their wounds from when the market shut down in the early 90s in Hawaii with like the Japanese economy crashing and Desert Storm and all these other things that happened. And we're just starting to really feel now what some drama is.
Right.
Yeah.
You said something Kamohai last year, or no, it was earlier this year, about we're coming into a season where real estate agents are going to have to really show their value.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I've been feeling that for a long time.
Right.
That like insert Morgan Freeman voice, like a storm is coming. Like it's I could feel that coming, and it's humbling.
Yeah.
It's humbling that I feel like I'm doing a lot of things right. We gotta give a shout out to Sean.
Yeah,
do.
oh yeah,
Sean's
big
who
time.
connected.
He's
I-
actually
yeah.
he's actually on the pod.
Well, he's traveling, so I was like,
Yeah,
hit me
yeah,
up and get
couple
back.
weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're having
Yeah.
a few of our OG, like our
Awesome.
agents we work with on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean's a beautiful human being, and
He is.
he's the person that connected us.
Totally.
And Sean has a style of real estate. It's different from my style, but it's complementary in a lot of ways. And Sean, he's been talking about, the almost 2 decades that he's been in the business and the
Yeah.
stuff he's seen. And I
Yeah.
talk to agents. One of my favorite things to do on Instagram that I need to stop doing is the old person filter where I
It's
pretend
so
like
good,
I
though.
pretend like I'm in the business for
Yeah.
40 years.
So
I'm like,
funny.
interest
That's
rates.
the most classic ever. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Interest rates back in 1982. But that's a thing too. You think about, the interest rates hovering around 20%, inflation being out of control in
Right.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're having a season, and that was a really long-winded. I wasn't trying to be an escape from your question, but it's had some challenges transactionally, but I've just had a lot of success.
Yeah.
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 I've had some challenges, but it's been relatively easy,
Uh-huh.
and I can feel the temperature starting to change,
Yeah.
and I'm like inappropriately excited.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited to get to work.
Love it.
I feel like right now there's this calling of let's really see if you can walk the walk,
Yeah.
and I like it.
Love that.
I like that's such a positive attitude. Like that's a healthy outlook to have with the shifting market, shifting economy, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of us need to adapt that attitude versus shriveling up into a corner of fear and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because I see that happening too.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Versus like, let's rise to the occasion,
Yeah. There's part of me that kind of likes chaos. Like I like being out.
Yeah, we're sick like that.
Yeah.
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 See, we're similar in so many ways. I almost feel comfortable a lot of times in the craziness. And that's, I don't know if it's a great thing, but it's not good when you hunt it out. Like you search
No,
for it.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the first thing that came up when you said that.
Right.
I used to be the guy that hunted out craziness because I know trauma.
Yeah.
So like I want familiarity, and familiarity is me creating trauma in my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's unhealthy. But
That's
I don't think
Well-
that's what you're talking
no,
about.
but I mean, I'm similar in that in many ways because I've had a pattern over my life of, and this is in my early years, I would get like really good at stuff and then I would like sabotage it. And I just give up or I move on to the next thing. So I think that, I mean, that's something obviously that we had to go through. And, I found real estate, which was the biggest blessing in the world. But
It's an amazing real estate. We're all in the same industry on different spectrums, but it's a chaotic industry.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the most chaotic industries
Right?
ever.
Yeah.
I mean, what industry has such a big like microscope on it? From all these shows, fantasizing and dramatizing what it is to be in this industry in some
Right.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
I really think they've done so much damage. Like the HGTVs, the Selling Sunsets, and there's some of them that are good. There's
Yeah,
some of them
there's
that
some
I
that are
watch
good.
that
Yeah.
are awesome and they're
Yeah.
value
Totally.
driven.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of BS out there.
Well, I
And
mean, are there any like the Selling Sunsets and stuff, man? Like,
I've
are
done-
they
I've done a
real?
deal with those guys.
Are they?
So they do buy and sell
yeah,
real estate.
do they buy and sell real
You might-
estate?
you might have to cut
do
this
they
out.
do real estate? Like, I'm like, what?
They do. Those guys are
Yeah.
ringers.
Big
They
time,
do.
yeah.
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 And
I
look,
just-
I'm not gonna say anything about them
Yeah.
Yeah.
as human beings, but I will say that their reputation, what you see on TV, might align in certain ways. But what we see on TV, where these girls are dressed up for I don't even know what,
Yeah.
and the dudes are not much better,
Right.
and they're going to a house and they're having a drama fest, and
Right.
like, does that make real estate agents or buyers or sellers or exchanging property look at all attractive?
Or
No.
yeah, like feel
what's-
comfortable
what's
in
that
that in
doing?
any way.
We said that of course, when it first came out, right? We're like, we have to watch this 100%.
I've seen every episode. I love it. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But it's like they're not even buying and selling houses.
Yeah.
We're just talking about drama. Like, I want to see transactions.
Yeah.
I want to see luxury real estate. I want to see sellers and buyers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're investors. I want to see that because I know
Yeah.
somebody built that house, But it's like, that's not even what the show is about.
Yeah.
It's about people with all of this stuff clothes, shoes, hair. Look at me in a nice house.
Yeah.
It's not about the house.
Yeah, so you've got a dash of that Kardashian energy
Right.
over there with the selling sunset people. And then you've got this reality that we all relate to real estate in some shape, form, or another.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're all a renter, a buyer, a seller. We're all or houseless. Like we're all having an experience with real estate in some form.
Right.
And so it's deeply personal.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then real estate is getting affected right now, maybe more than ever before, by what's happening with the economy and inflation and the Fed keeping rates too low for too long. And that's a whole thing by itself.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so that's a moving target, and that's an ingredient of drama. And then you have technology changing real estate right now, and that's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Blockchain. What's
Yeah.
blockchain going to do in the next 5 years?
Yeah,
What's
yeah, yeah.
AI going to do in the next 5
Yeah.
years?
Yeah.
What is the Zillow player and the Redfin player and the iBuyer that keeps plopping, keeps
Dude,
face planting?
yeah.
They keep
They
they're
keep going
they've
though.
literally put billions at it. You
Yeah,
know?
it's
Open
crazy.
door, like we got a new CEO, but open door keep.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. I think it's going to keep changing, but we just keep doing it the best we can as, again, a service provider, not servicing people.
Yeah. Yes, not servicing people. A service
just-
provider.
Being of service.
Service provider also just feels like I'm a Comcast rep too.
I know. Being of service.
Being of service is what
Yeah,
I've been
being
trying to
of
say. This
service.
how hard is that to say?
Yeah.
Why do I keep saying servicing
know.
people like a
Being of
weirdo?
It's fine.
So along on your journey,
Yeah.
what has been like the biggest struggle that you've had to
Yeah,
face?
challenge, yeah.
I think the sophistication of the business, so treating it like a business, has always been a huge goal of mine, where I want it to feel sustainable, where I never want to be thirsty in this business, especially for clients.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's really, as I was just talking about technology being kind of a mixed bag of disrupting things, I think that technology also needs to disrupt things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of escrow should not be so complicated.
Yeah.
I counted one time, there's between 22 and 26 people that touch one real estate transaction
I
on a
know.
traditional retail buy
Yeah.
Right.
or sell.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of a type A personality, and I get weirdly dedicated to a client having a certain experience. And when I realize that 25 of the people, and I'm number 26, 25 of the people also have power to change the client experience, therefore it changes the experience the client has with me, because it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Everything's connected.
And
And
it's
they're only going to come to you.
that's
as
right.
The agent.
Yeah. Where title's not my expertise, and the survey is not my expertise, termite is not my expertise. So it's like kind of a big role as a
Yeah.
real estate agent. Like people really don't even
No,
understand
they don't.
that.
No, they don't.
Good real estate
All the moving
agents
parts.
are genuinely hard
Yeah.
to come by. You guys work your ass off.
It's like I always say we're like a broker of personalities.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
You really
we
are.
really are. Like
You have to be.
keep the peace. Keep
Yep.
the peace.
yeah,
Keep the peace.
like
yeah.
help people minimize the ego play. Like let's keep this thing moving forward. But I'd say that's really been it. Is just I know we've talked a lot about human development here, but
Yep.
it's coming back to personal development and how I look at the business, and learning how to play well with others.
Yeah.
Like learning how to be a better collaborator. Because you're going to work with people that just got their license. Closing questions.
Yeah.
Closing questions.
Tell us about the first escrow you ever did.
Yeah, we were in the kitchen before this podcast started, and we were talking about this saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yes.
And I was saying also what doesn't kill you can sometimes make you really jaded
Yes.
and
Resentful.
insecure and resentful. We're talking about failure early on, and my first escrow was not a failure, but damn did that thing have a lot of moving parts and a lot of personality and a lot of ego, and it was a $350,000 condo.
Wow.
Shout out to Danielle if you're watching this. She was my client.
Shout
She was
out.
my CrossFit coach.
Yeah.
There you go.
No way.
I don't do CrossFit anymore. Too old.
He plays pickleball.
I play so old. I play pickleball. But it was just a difficult deal, and what made it difficult was it was an investor deal actually.
Yep.
Wow, It just came to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a reno. It was kind of a low to mid end reno. Had electrical issues. I don't think I had the negotiating nuance to navigate what was a big ticket item or not, which new agents fall victim to that a lot.
Yeah.
So I have to say that I probably freaked out when I didn't need to, and I was strong arming when I didn't need to.
Right.
And my client was super cool through the whole thing.
Wow.
But the seller was kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. Beat me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It stands out as one of my most difficult deals because I think when you don't have clarity on what the forward path is and everything feels like a bomb, then it's unnecessarily stressful.
Right.
Dude.
Totally.
Yeah. That's like every other day. Bomb, 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 bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Navigating.
You wonder why agents
minefields.
get Botox and stuff because they're so wrinkly and gray because we stress out.
Yeah.
Okay, so now tell us about the last escrow that you did here.
Well, the last escrow I did was in Salt Lake, actually.
Oh,
It was that
Salt Lake
one I
one.
was just telling you
Yeah.
about. And that was actually an off-market deal.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think that speaks to also power of network. I have to
Yeah.
give a big shout out to Sean, actually, for connecting the dots on that one.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
amazing.
Helped me find the agent who was also a friend, also plays pickleball. So no, I'm just
Okay.
joking. Pickleball has nothing to do with it.
I was going to say,
Just
see?
be like,
What
what?
if I just went on a pickleball rant for like 20 minutes?
I know you could.
We would probably be fully engaged in the
They're like,
conversation.
stop
I love
listening
pickleball.
here. But yeah, this agent, Koa Cassidy is his name, was just a total professional and brought a
Amazing.
really good buyer to the table. And it's just a, as cliche as it is, very much a win-win
Nice.
for everybody.
Love that.
Client got what she wanted and then some. Their clients got the house, which was kind of in their dream neighborhood at a price that they're happy with, and the house is in really good shape. And
Nice.
we had some things. I say every deal has a 2x4 that hits you right in the face.
Yeah.
This one had a couple small ones.
Yep.
All good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can just
Yeah.
navigate them.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fine.
I love that. Love that. So, last question, and our favorite question is: what impact do you hope to leave with the
There
audience?
might be one more after this
Okay.
from Kamohai.
What impact do I hope to leave with
The audience.
the audience?
Yeah, with people. The Jared message, the Musser message, hashtag Musser message.
Oh
Is
my
it
God.
Musser?
It's
Or-
Musser.
Okay.
It's Musser.
Okay, good.
Usually be like,
I'm like, my
I
wife's
would-
just butchering my last
I
name
would've
over here.
thought, what would it have been? Mooser?
It's something
I
else.
had,
don't
I had
know.
a
You never
client.
know.
I had a client who used to say, and I could tell he felt cool. So my last name is Musser,
Right.
Musser, and I had a client that used to say Muser,
Muser.
Oh,
like
French.
French.
Français.
Yeah.
And I could tell he felt cool when he said it,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the heart to tell him until after we closed. I was like,
Yeah.
"It's just,
It's
By
just
the-
my last
it's
name's
just
Musser."
Musser. Yeah.
So my message to your audience is learn how to pronounce people's names.
Correctly.
Okay, I mean, what comes up for me is just to. And I'm really not trying to oversimplify, but just do the work. And what I mean by that is never try to pursue the shortcut in yourself. And don't be afraid. I've been feeling this a lot lately, people's inability to make a decision. And this paralysis by analysis that happens.
Yep.
Yep.
And I've been thinking about how that's been a demon of mine in my life, and how I've actually learned is doing the thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, it hasn't always been the right thing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it hasn't, but
Right.
I learn. And when I'm learning and when I'm doing, and in that doing, I'm learning what and who I am, and turning on different knobs and pulling on different levers of Jared, I become a better person. So
Yeah.
I really believe that the medicine is in doing the work.
Love that. That was super
that
good.
was so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 1000% relate. We were just talking about decision making, how important it is.
And doing the work. You
yeah.
have to go layers deep, and
Yeah.
you have to do that thing that
Sounds simple.
and
Do the work is simple. That some people could say that's a sales book, and maybe that is, but to me, that's reading also the 4 agreements. To
Yeah.
me, that's like doing a meditation practice. That's learning how to eat good. That's reconciling your broken relationship with your father. That's like all these.
All the things.
I mean,
I'm
but
doing
that's,
like
that's the thing. Doing the work is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I
it's
mean?
the hardest. It's
Yeah.
very simple task to just say yes, go do the thing, and it can be very simple, but the feelings are so complicated.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and
It's
that's
messy.
why a lot of people were like, nope, that's too hard. This is easier. But you corner off a self of you that is the most powerful form of self. You know, when you don't do the work.
That's right.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing. What is a question that we didn't ask you today that we should have asked you?
I heard this question on a podcast the other day.
Did you?
And I'm gonna completely steal it.
Do it,
I'm
because
gonna
I've
rip
never-
off and
So good.
repeat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did we hear that?
I don't know. We heard it somewhere. And
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
heard
we
it
need to
somewhere.
ask
Yeah,
that.
we gotta end the podcast with that every time.
What is something that most people value that you don't? And Jay Shetty's answer was to be understood. He says, I don't have to be understood.
Right.
I'm just living my truth.
Yeah. Love that.
And to be
I heard that. I
and
heard that
so
one.
what's-
I love
Not
Jay.
being
Yeah, because
Yeah.
most people value needing to be accepted,
Yeah.
needing to
like-
be, and I do too. I want to be accepted.
Yeah.
I don't want to. None of us like the feeling of rejection or
Yeah.
being parsed off from society because
Why
you're
don't they
different.
understand? Why don't they
Yeah.
get me?
But what's interesting about back to you guys, the path I see you on is one that's pretty damn rare, where you're probably finding your community is bigger in some ways and smaller in some ways because
Totally.
you have
Yeah.
less to relate with people about because you're living this you're living kind of this warrior path in a lot of
Right.
ways where you're going down this road that I would argue not only a few people have traveled, but in a lot of ways no one has traveled, not the way you're doing it. So you're not going to be understood.
100%.
Whoa, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And we have to be at peace with that.
Well, you're going to take some arrows,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the self-work and all this stuff. That's why I think it's all connected. There's
Yeah,
no
it is.
separation,
It totally is.
you know?
Yep.
That was heavy.
I listened to that podcast because Jay Shetty, I have a man crush on Jay
Yeah.
Shetty. So
I have a crush on his wife.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
yeah, she is
She's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. But he's, I don't know.
He's a truth
He's-
seeker.
yeah,
And
big
like
time.
really puts a lot of truth out there in a way
Yeah.
that's really unique.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
He's like new wave self-development that's like real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But his ability to articulate it in a way that's like super palatable to people, you can digest it, and it resonates.
Yeah,
is,
totally.
Is what he's really good
But
at.
I do love the understood thing because I mean we struggle with that, and especially with some close relationships
Well, I think
that
we're
I
going
have.
through that right now.
Yeah,
is where
totally.
We are misunderstood and learning to be okay with it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've been thinking about lately is this idea that, and this is an ego thing, that we tend to think people care about us a lot more than they do.
Mm.
And it's like, people don't really care about us that much,
Yeah,
you know? And I know that sounds kind of cold, but
It's the facts.
like, think about how much you think about other people versus our own story. And I like to think I think about other people a lot. And I'm trying to work on thinking about other people more. But I tend to flip that where I feel like maybe other people are thinking about things I'm doing disproportionately.
right.
And that's not what's happening.
Yeah,
Right.
not
you
at all.
know?
Right.
Like, and so it just reinforces for me this idea that we need to be doing positive,
yeah,
because that it's all fleeting, it's all happening so quick. So just do good for people,
Yeah.
because nothing else really matters,
yeah,
you know?
yep. Love it.
And we're going to end with that.
We are gonna end with that.
Because-
So where can
Oh.
people find you?
Yes.
I'd like to say I'm well-rounded on social media, but I'm not. I'm pretty big on Instagram. That's
You
where
are, and
that's
he's
where I
hilarious.
post.
You need to follow him.
Thank
He's
you.
so
Yeah.
funny.
So Jared_Musser. No, just joking.
Yeah, Musser.
At Jared_Musser.
Yeah, at Jared_Musser is my
Yeah.
my Instagram. Thanks you guys for having me on.
Of course, dude. This
has
is
been
awesome.
awesome.
We love you. We
Hilarious.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
I do want to play pickleball with
Yeah,
your wife.
we'll do pickleball for
Okay.
sure.
We're gonna
have
play.
to.
Just be patient and kind to me, because my hip hurts and I'm not that good.
But I'll pick up her slack.
True
guys.
statement.
We'll see you on the court.
Right on. Okay, guys. Peace.